At a glance, you'd be forgiven for assuming that the following entries all went pretty much according to plan on the night. But once you take a closer look and discover the truth about these particular pieces of in-ring action and mic work, you'll never be able to unsee the various subtle botches and miscues that lie within. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestling mistakes you'll never unsee. Number 10, Colt Cabana made a big compression sock mistake versus Chris Jericho. AEW Dynamite 2022. Away from the inevitable CM Punk headlines that came with Colt Cabana's shocking re-emergence on Dynamite, the veteran performer's showdown with Chris Jericho over the Ring of Honor World Championship felt like a rather cool moment for the coach. In truth though, Cabana had actually made a catastrophic mistake heading into his first televised AEW bout in an age. According to the star himself when talking on his Art of Wrestling podcast, after losing his socks, he was forced to head out and buy some new ones pre-Jericho match. Picking up a pair of compression socks, Cabana prepared as usual from there on out and took to the ring, only to realize partway through the match that something was terribly wrong. In fact, by the time Cabana let loose his moonsault to the outside, he had absolutely nothing left in his body, as he put it. And that much is evident when looking back at the way the one-time WWE man was moving in the latter stages of the contest. Sure enough, when the light-headed star made his way to the trainer's room afterwards, he was soon educated as to why one shouldn't don compression socks when wrestling in front of 10,000 people, with said decision actually cutting off the blood supply to his own legs. What a silly sausage. Number 9, Andrade jumps the gun on his win over Rey Mysterio. WWE Raw 2020. Rey Mysterio and Andrade's showing didn't hit in quite the way their other efforts against one another had. And while WWE would attempt to paper over one of the clunkiest endings you're ever gonna see on an episode of The Red Show when putting their US Championship bout up on YouTube, a quick watch of the match on the network tells the story of some clear miscommunication in the closing stages that's hard to unsee. It appeared that Andrade had opted to attack his rival a little too quickly in the wake of his manager Zelina Vega being wiped out by Rey, leading to a surreal moment when the referee was forced to break up a DDT attempt in a bid to get the match and original finish back on track. Mysterio then proceeds to awkwardly slide out of the ring to console Vega, as seemingly planned, before Andrade locks in his hammerhead DDT for a delayed and ever so slightly botched win. Number 8, Earl Hebner forgets what rock bottom that was. WWF No Way Out 2001. Instead of a referee helping to keep a contest moving in the right direction, No Way Out 2001 actually saw the complete opposite go down. As Kurt Angle would recall on his podcast in 2021, the finish for his and The Rock's WWF Championship main event experienced an accidental change-up thanks to Earl Hebner suddenly forgetting which rock bottom the People's Champion had hit on the Olympic hero. According to Angle, the finish was supposed to come after the second rock bottom of the night, but the WWE official clearly forgot that another one of Rocky's finishers had been unleashed earlier in the contest, leading to the odd visual of Hebner hesitating and ultimately refusing to count the 3, despite Angle's shoulders still seemingly being down. At a glance, it wasn't really clear who had effed up, with both the audience and commentary team having not the slightest clue what was happening. Once you realise it was Earl who made the substantial error on the night though, a briefly pissed off Rocky screaming at Hebner to count the mother effing finish after his third rock bottom of the night soon sticks out like a particularly sore thumb. Number 7, Big Swole misses her cue mid-Baker promo. AEW Dynamite 2020. Heading into those unfortunate mistakes that have gone down outside of a physical in-ring showing now, involving Dr. Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone having to subtly improvise around a cue being missed on live television. As revealed by the former AEW Women's World Champion herself a few months on from the botched entrance, Baker's role model line was seemingly there to act as a cue for Big Swole to suddenly interrupt the arrogant heel mid-conversation with pal Schiavone. Unfortunately though, largely thanks to the fact that there was no speaker setup backstage, Swole was nowhere to be seen. And it took another attempt at cueing Swole with said phrase before Baker's rival ultimately popped up on stage and traded barbs with the doctor. Credit to Baker and Schiavone as the pair managed the unexpected situation brilliantly, leaning into the sea of boos from those in attendance and throwing out off-the-cuff additional material as the folks backstage were no doubt scrambling to figure out what was going on. That being said, it's now hard to miss the look on Baker and Schiavone's face when they both realized this particular segment was most definitely not going to plan. Number 6, Summer Rae wasn't supposed to get Fandango DQ'd. WWE Main Event 2013. In the case of the unplanned finish to a match between Fandango and Kofi Kingston on Main Event, the end result was so damn convincing that both audiences and the boss himself didn't realize things had even gone wrong at all. That's according to Summer Rae herself, who explained during an appearance on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast that getting her on-screen ally Dango DQ'd wasn't actually supposed to happen, with the manager originally being expected to simply brush at Kingston's leg and cause a distraction. Instead, the ref caught Ray in the act and brought the match to a swift conclusion. But rather than being instantly scolded by the boss and fans figuring out quickly that something was up, nobody appeared to notice. In fact, Vince McMahon was said to have told all involved, "I loved it, it was great." However, it's hard to unsee the look of absolute fear on Ray's face in the immediate aftermath of her botched ankle tap. Number 5, Ronda Rousey's shoulders were anything but down. WrestleMania 35. Following a hard-hitting performance that saw Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair attempt to spark an absolutely shattered crowd into life during the WrestleMania 35 main event, the baddest woman on the planet and the man finally collided one-on-one. The triple threat ended on a slightly underwhelming note though, as Lynch awkwardly rolled up Rousey on the back of an attempted Piper's Pit. But replay soon highlighted the fact that Rousey's shoulders were very much off the mat during the clunky cover attempt, leading many to wonder whether this was even the original planned finish for the bout. As it goes, the ref involved in the botched pinfall was ultimately fined for the call to count the 3, despite Ronda's shoulders being up. And it was eventually also reported that this wasn't the initially agreed upon conclusion, with sources saying Flair was actually in line to tap out to Lynch. In the end, despite WWE's best efforts to cut around the mistake in subsequent recaps, it's difficult to unsee one of the biggest blunders in WrestleMania history. Number 4, John Cena screams for Nakamura to hit his cue. Royal Rumble 2018. Not even Cena's trademark blatant spot screaming could save Shinsuke Nakamura from missing his initial cue in the middle of one of the finest Royal Rumbles in modern history. With Cena, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Nakamura acting as the final 4 in the men's version of the 2018 titular bout, the face that runs the place found himself staring down the big dog to the glorious sound of "You both suck" chants. However, a closer look at Super Cena's mouth during this face-off reveals the multiple-time world champion shouting "Now!" That seemed to be the cue for Nak and Balor to attack the main eventers, only the pair stayed down. Thankfully, one final cry for Shinsuke to strike eventually paved the way for a breakup from the former NXT champions. Yet once you spot Cena's signature spot howling, it's evident the fellow Final 4 members weren't exactly right on cue here. Number 3, Mustafa Ali apologizes on air for whacking Daniel Bryan. WWE SmackDown 2018. You can forgive Mustafa Ali for being a little overexcited during his first official showing as a Team Blue wrestler. However, that still doesn't change the fact that things didn't go completely according to plan, with Ali teaming alongside AJ Styles in a match against the new Daniel Bryan and Andrade. The end of that tag bout saw the newcomer actually pin the top champ on the back of an epic 054 off the top rope. Unfortunately though, an admittedly impactful looking version of the finisher actually very much resulted in Bryan being clipped by Ali and needing to be checked out backstage after the conclusion. Thankfully, the champ was absolutely fine, but it's clear upon a rewatch that Ali swiftly checks on his adversary after connecting rather stiffly on this particular occasion, and the fear of how this accidental knee to the face could impact his early days on the main roster was soon written all over the 205 Live standout's own mug. Number 2, Stone Cold eliminates himself early. WWE Royal Rumble 1996. A performer who would later go on to set the industry on fire, unfortunately very literally hit the ground running during his first ever pay-per-view appearance for the then World Wrestling Federation. That would have likely been fine had Steve Austin not been set to take up one of the final 4 places during the 1996 Royal Rumble, and the ringmaster suddenly losing his grip of the ropes as Fatu clotheslined him over the top rope too early soon set the stage for a complete change in direction. Though said embarrassing mistake was barely even registered by those watching around the world at the time, it must be said. Austin would later confess to Bleacher Report that his botched attempt to hang onto the ropes caused him to have to grab Shawn Michaels' attention as the Heartbreak Kid was suddenly forced to think on his feet. Luckily though, despite thinking he blew it with the WWF out of the gates, this was far from the end for Austin, with another controversial early exit actually paving the way for the first of 3 Rumble wins the following year. Number 1, Bray Wyatt's lamp goes out too early into his return. WWE Extreme Rules 2022. Bray Wyatt's re-emergence in WWE at last year's Extreme Rules event felt like the start of something special for both the company and the performer himself. Well, for the most part. Though the sight of thousands of fireflies swaying around the arena and a chilling rendition of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands haunting the Wells Fargo Center after the main event were appropriately spooky, the final moments of the Eater of Worlds returning sequence didn't quite stick the landing in the same way. It was revealed that a lamp holding Wyatt was back on the WWE scene for the first time since April 2021. But in an unintentionally hilarious beat, a few fans clocked the fact that Bray's lantern actually went out before he dramatically blew it to bring the show and highly anticipated return to a close. And while this tiny miscue managed to escape the attention of the many losing their minds over Wyatt's comeback in the moment, the same could not be said of the sight of the person playing Uncle Howdy eventually being noticeably out of sync with the laughter track playing during their live SmackDown debut. Here's hoping the company get through the upcoming Pitch Black gimmick without another unfortunate blunder to add to Wyatt's ever-growing collection, eh? And that's our list of any other wrestling mistakes you'll never unsee. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right this minute is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you very much for watching this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see your faces very, very soon, but in the meantime, hey, be good to yourself. Bye-bye.